Okay, let's start this session with RAID. RAID stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disk. Okay, so from the term, we'll try to understand what exactly the RAID. Okay, so it is, first of all, it is all independent disk. Okay, so we have the hard disk. All the disks are independent. That means it's a collection of disk and arrays of independent disk. That means these disks are arranged in the sequential order. Okay, you know what it may be array. You are studied in C and C++ and then Java languages. Okay, it is a consequent memory location. Array represents the consequent memory locations. That means the memory locations will be in the adjacent next to next. Okay, there won't be any gap in the memory location. Similar to this, arrays, that is when you are going to arrange the disk in a serial fashion or one by one or next to next without any breaking or without any discontinuity, then you can call it as an array. Okay, so the arrays of independent disk, here the disk, hard disk, will be arranged in the arrays format. That means in the sequential order. Okay, next to next. And what will be redundant here? Okay, so here when you are going to save the data, you are allowing redundancy there. You know what will be redundancy? Redundancy, it is a kind of duplication where you can save your data in multiple places. Okay, so this is what the arrangement we call as a RAID. Okay, so this RAID, the main objective of using this RAID is to increase the storage capacity. Right, so in the olden days, when you are using a simple computer, it is hardly less than a few hundred or few GB of size hard disk. Okay, so we not have much storage space there, right? Then nowadays, we'll be able to get even terabytes of hard disk spaces, right? But that is okay for the normal execution environment or our personal computer or the computer which is used in the minimal range. Okay, suppose if you are using a computer in the server based, or suppose if you are going to save the data in a massive volume, that is the huge volume of data that you are going to save, in those type of environment, the single hard disk space will not be sufficient. Okay, see, for that, what the next arrangement, the alternative arrangement, they started accumulating or arranging the independent disk in a serial manner, so that they'll be able to get the very massive size and huge volume of data capacity, that is memory capacity there. Okay, so that is what the initial arrangement done by to get the RAID here. And this is actually, this type of idea is the backbone for the nowadays huge storage devices. Okay, so now we'll be able to get massive volume of storage capacities. Okay, so like cloud storage, right? And then SAN, storage area network, right? So a lot of the very high huge volume of data will be able to store nowadays, right? So this is a basic idea, right? This actually framed the recent technologies. Okay, this was the basic idea for the recent the today technology. Okay, now let's discuss what exactly the RAID and what is the features of the RAID. Okay, so what are the other different levels and different types of RAID we can get. Okay, so now in the redundant array of independent disk, so it is actually a disk organization technique that manage a large number of disks. Okay, so maybe you can arrange any number of disks, maybe a few hundreds of disks you can arrange. Okay, so even though if you arrange the large number of disks or the independent disk, again the entire disk arrangement will be giving you a single logical disk. Okay, when you look at the entire disk arrangement, the entire volume of the disk, it will look like a single disk, right? So physically, when you look at the RAID arrangement, the disk will be in more in numbers, but when you operate, when you process it, the entire range of disk will be looking like logically a single disk. Okay, that is what we are trying to say here, right? So it actually provides a high capacity and high speed. So both the things you can get from the RAID. So we already spoke about, when you use the RAID, we can obviously get the high capacity because you are going to accumulate more number of disks so that you will be getting more number of space there, right? Then high speed, how you can achieve the high speed? The high speed can be achieved by allowing the multiple disk to be worked in parallel. Okay, so you know what means parallel, simultaneous access, right? So you are going to allow the all the disk to access simultaneously in parallel, right? So there is another concept. We have the parallel algorithm, parallel processing, parallel computing. Okay, so there are different technologies are there. So here the basic thing is you are allowing the system or your application to access all the disk parallelly. Okay, so that you can achieve high speed, right? Then the other one is high reliability. Okay, so how you can achieve high reliability? Because here the data that you are going to store in this arrangement will be in redundant. Okay, that means you are going to save the data in multiple places, right? If one particular disk got corrupted, or if one particular disk is not able to access the data, and still the data is available in other disk. Okay, so that you can have high reliable. That means reliable means it is a kind of consistency where you can rely on that particular data. That means the data will be available at any cost, right? So even if one particular data that is disk got corrupted, then still you will be able to retrieve your data from the other location. Okay, so because you are allowing redundancy also here, right? So a small calculation to calculate the mean time to failure of your disk. Okay, so MTTF, mean time to failure of your disk. Suppose if you are using a collection of disk, for example 100 disk you are using, then the mean time to failure is calculated is much higher than the chance that a specific single disk fail. The failure rate will be more when you are going to have more number of disk as a collective environment, or the collective disk. Suppose if you are going to use a single disk, maybe the mean time to failure, the failure rate will be somewhat lesser. Okay, it's based on some calculation. And so this is what you can look at pictorially. This is how your RAID arrangement will look like. You have a server-like environment or a cabin-like environment where you have different slots are there. Okay, so in the slots you can insert all the disk. So how many number of disk you want to insert and how much capacity you want to have in the RAID arrangement. Based on that, you can insert all the disk. Okay, so here each and every slot that you are seeing on this diagram is actually a hard disk. That is where disk is arranged. Okay, so all the disk are arranged in this particular serial fashion. Okay, it is in the array format. That is why we call it a redundant array of independent disk, right? So this is the example based on this idea only. So now we are now we are able to achieve a very high capacity. And so what are the things we can get from the RAID? Okay, so there are improvement to reliability. So two things we can achieve through the RAID. One is reliable and next one is performance. Okay, so how you can achieve the reliability? Because you are going to store the data in multiple places. That means you are allowing the redundancy of your data so that you can achieve reliability. Okay, then how you can achieve the performance? Because you are going to allow the parallel process here. Okay, so when you are going to allow the parallel process, the speed of accessibility will be more. Okay, we'll discuss one by one now. And what do you mean by redundancy? We already said it is actually you are going to store the data in the other location. Okay, in the multiple places, storing extra information that can be used to rebuild information lost in the disk failure. Okay, since you are having your data in the other places also, if any one particular disk got failed, then still you will be able to get the data again. Okay, so that's what we call as a redundancy. By using the redundancy method, we can achieve the reliability. Then what type of redundancy we are allowing here? Okay, so in the RAID arrangement, one concept is mirroring or shadowing. You know what may be mirroring? That is duplicating the exact replica of one particular disk content. For example, you have a disk 1 and disk 2. Whatever the content is present or whatever the files are present in disk 1, the exact copy will be updated, will be duplicated in the disk 2 also. Okay, it is just a mirror image or just a shadowing. Okay, so that you will be having the entire content on both the disk. If one particular disk got corrupted or got failure, or any one particular reason, if the particular disk is not able to access, still you will be able to get your data from the next disk, the other disk. Okay, so this is one method of achieving reliability, that is redundancy. So duplicate every disk, then logical disk consists of 2 physical disks. Okay, so in this idea, you are going to save the entire data in 2 different disks. Okay, so every write, when you are saving in multiple disks or the 2 different disks, how the read and write operations are performed. Okay, the write operation obviously you have to perform on both the disks. Okay, because you have to update your content on both the disks, right? But in the read times, at the time of reading the data, then there is no need for both the disk to read. Maybe you can restrict with only one particular disk. Okay, reads can take place from either disk. Maybe any one of the disk you can take it for reading. Okay, so at the time of reading the data, just you are going to read the copy only. You are not going to do any modification there. Okay, but at the time of write operation, definitely you have to do the modification. That is, you are going to update the data there. Okay, so in that sense, at the time of reading, both the disks should be updated, both the disks should be accessed, and then at the time of reading, then it is enough to get the data from any one of the disks. Okay, then suppose if one disk in a pair fails, and what will happen? Okay, the data still will be available in the other. That's what we already said. If you have the content on both the disks, for any reason, if one particular disk got failed, and then still you can access the data from the other disk. Okay, so now this type of arrangement has changed. We are started storing in the cloud environment, and then still you can store the data in multiple places, different locations. Okay, so if one particular place got any problem with the storage environment, and still you can get the data from the other locations. Okay, so now in this RAID, we are talking about the disk, right, not the location. And so data loss would occur only if a disk fail, and its mirror disk also fails before the system is repaired. Suppose you are going to store the data in both the disk, then if any chance, if both the disk got corrupted or failed, maybe you will lose your data. But chances for failure of both the disk will be very, very rare. Okay, so what you'll do, if you're storing your data on both the disk, suppose if any one particular disk got any problem, okay, you're not able to access it, then what you have to do, immediately you have to repair the disk. Okay, so that you can use the multiple disk, right? So that is what the idea here. Except for dependent failure, more such as fire or building collapse or electrical power surges, then obviously you can get your data back. Okay, so here the mean time to data loss depends on mean time to failure and the mean time to repair. So both the things we are considering here, data loss. One is mean time to failure, that is MTTF of a particular disk, and then mean time to repair. That means how much time you are taking to repair the damaged disk or corrupted disk. Okay, so both are included in the mean time to data loss. Okay, suppose if you are not able to repair the disk, and then if you are not able to correct your entire disk or both the disk, then definitely you will be losing your data here. Okay, that is what the one of the disadvantage we have here, right? The next concept is how you can improve the performance. Okay, we already said when you are allowing parallel process or parallel access in the RAID arrangement, you can increase the performance. Okay, so instead of accessing data from only one disk, suppose you are allowing both the disk to be accessed parallelly, so that you can increase the speed, right? So here the two main goals of parallelism in a disk system, that is, one is load balance multiple small access to increase the throughput, and second one, parallelize large access to reduce response time. So load balancing, what you mean load balancing? That means whatever the data or whatever the content you are going to write in the disk should be both well balanced. Okay, so one disk should not be written completely, and then the other disk should not be kept empty. right? So whenever you are trying to store or write data in the multiple disk, and all the disk content, that is everything, will be should be load balanced, okay, so that you can increase the throughput. That means throughput, what do you mean with throughput? That is the maximum gain that you are able to get in a minimum, that is with a particular time period, right? So when you are going to store your data in multiple places with a proper load balancing, then obviously you can increase the throughput, okay. Suppose if you are saving all your data in maximum in one particular disk, and then you are saving very less amount of data in the other disk, then what will happen actually? So the first disk will be getting more access than the second disk, okay. So mostly the system will depend on the first disk rather than the second disk, right? Suppose if you are load balancing on the both the disk, so since you are allowing the parallelism, the system will be able to access the data from both the disk parallelly, so that you can increase the throughput, okay. Then how you can parallelize large access to reduce the response time. Suppose you are accessing since you are allowing the parallel accessing, the parallel accessing definitely will reduce the response time, okay, because you are not accessing serially, you are accessing parallelly, right? So whenever you are doing parallel processing, definitely you can reduce the response time, okay. So here, to improve the transfer rate by stripping data across multiple disks, so how we can achieve this parallelism and how we can improve the performance? The one is we use the concept called stripping, okay. So in the RAID arrangement, we are using stripping concept. We'll do both the stripping, right? So one is bit level stripping and another one is block level stripping, okay. So first you need to understand what is stripping. Stripping is just fixing or attaching something on a particular disk, okay. So just you are going to fix or attach or even store a piece of your data in the disk, right, the physically, right? So here the bit level stripping, here you are going to use the entire data in the bitwise, okay, bit format, right? Each and every bit of your data or your information will be processed here, right? So split the bits of each byte across multiple disks, right? So just imagine how tedious it is. So just imagine 1 MB. So suppose if you take 1 MB, that is 1024 KBs. Okay, 1 MB is 1024 KB. And then again, if you calculate it to bytes, so 1024 into 1024 bytes. Okay, so maybe you'll be getting, about 10,000, more than 10,000 bytes of data. Okay, for at least for 1 MB data. Suppose you are now splitting each and every byte into bit, then that will be a very tedious task. Okay, so that is what we are trying to say here. So practically, if you say bit level stripping is not used much anymore. Okay, because it is very highly complex to maintain the bit level stripping across the different disk. Okay, so that's why the concept is there, but it was initially framed, but now it is not in the practice. Okay, so now mostly people are not using this one. And here the block level stripping. So instead of taking the data in the form of bit level, you are going to consider as a block. Okay, so the block size will be depends on the system. So we already studied each and every block, the minimal will be 512 bytes. Okay, so 512 bytes will be a block. And here generally the hard disk, whatever the data you are storing in the hard disk, the data will be saved in the form of blocks. Okay, in the blocks only you are going to save. And here instead of taking the bit level stripping, you are going to take as a blocks. Okay, so each and every block of your disk content will be stripped across multiple disks. Okay, able to understand? So in the bit level stripping, you are just going to pick each and every bit of your byte, and you are trying to strip across the multiple disk in the RAID. On the other hand, if you are going to use the block level stripping, you are going to take, or you are going to consider each and every block, and those blocks data will be stripped across the multiple disk in the RAID arrangement. Okay, so in the block level stripping, how you are going to arrange is you will be stripping the blocks based on the number of disk available. Okay, for example, if you have 100 disk in the RAID and you have 150 blocks of data. Okay, 150 blocks of data. First, what you'll do, you'll start from the first disk. Each block you will be storing, and after reaching the 100 block, again what you'll do, you will again 101 block will be saved in the first disk again. Okay, 102 block will be saved again in the second disk. Okay, so likewise what you'll do, all the 150 block will be splitted across the multiple disk. Okay, so here this what we call as a load balancing. Okay, so the load is you have 150 block and the available disks are only 100. So what you are trying to do here is you are just doing the load balancing. RAID level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, so the next one is the sixth level is a combination of additional feature of your fifth one. So obviously you'll have the 6 RAID level, and suppose if you want to have a specific RAID level, you can combine any RAID level and then you can have it. Okay, so we'll just see one by one what are the RAID levels are there. The first RAID level 0 is block stripping and non-redundant. So now I hope you are clear with what is bit stripping and block stripping. So in the RAID level 0, what it is doing, it is using block stripping. Okay, so block stripping and non-redundant. That means you are not going to duplicate the data in multiple places. Only the block of the data you are going to save in only one place in the disk RAID arrangement. Okay, so here this is a simple method, but it is used in high performance application where data loss is not critical, because you are not going to store the data in multiple places. That's why we call it non-redundant. Okay, since it is a non-redundant, you will not be getting your data in case of any failures. Okay, so that's why we say when data lost is not critical. So suppose even if you lose your data, then that will not affect you much, or that is not a problem. Then in that case, you can prefer this RAID level 0. Okay, because the data is not going to be repeated. Right, that is the first one. And you can see the diagram here for a RAID 0. You have the RAID controller, and these are the disk arrangement. That is A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so there are 6 disks are there. So here, whatever the content present in the disk A will be available only in the disk A. Whatever the content available in the disk B, only available in the disk B. Okay, so the content or the data will not be repeated across the disk available in the RAID arrangement. Okay, suppose if any problem with the disk B, you are not able to retrieve it, then definitely you will lose the data, right? Because the duplication of the data is not stored in any other disk. Okay, so only one place you are storing the data in the big block level stripping format. And the next to that, we have the RAID level 1, mirror disk with block stripping. Okay, so this is another way. You have the mirrored disk. We already spoke about what is mirroring and shadowing. That is the exact replica of your disk will be saved in multiple disks. Okay, the other disk also. So again, it uses the block stripping. Okay, mirrored disk with block stripping. That is exact replication. The content of the entire disk will be available repeated in the other disk also, right? You can see this example diagram here. You have the A and A, B and B. That means what? Whatever the content available in the disk A is repeated or created as a mirror type of disk. Okay, so you have the exact content of your A disk in the one more place, in the one more disk. Similarly, for the whatever the content available in this particular disk is exactly repeated in the other disk also, right? So again, it uses the block stripping, right? So it is actually offers a best write performance, okay, because the data is redundant, so we can rely on this particular RAID arrangement. Okay, so you will not lose your data, and popular for applications such as storing log files in a database system. Suppose if you want to have a clear backup and clear, more required or more important data, then you can choose this particular RAID level. Okay, then the RAID level 2, it is memory style error correction coding with bit stripping. You can see this one is bit stripping. Okay, bit stripping, we already said it is mostly not used, but anyway, for understanding purpose, we'll study what is a bit stripping. So in the bit stripping, we already spoke about this one. That is, you are trying to store or write the each and every bit of your data in the across the multiple disk. Okay, so at the time of writing each and every bit across the multiple disk in the RAID arrangement, there is a possibility for occurrence of errors. Okay, so here to find a specific error, whether you are storing the bit values exactly in the multiple disk places, then we you can apply this particular error correction coding mechanism, that is memory style error correcting code, ECC, right? So this ECC, what this ECC will do, this is actually using a Hamming code parity. There you can calculate the parity values of each and every bit, okay, whether it is the even parity or the odd parity. Using the Hamming code technique, you can calculate, and based on the parity values, you can find whether the particular bit of values are having any errors or not. Okay, so when you are storing the data, or when you are storing in the multiple disk in the bit format, you'll be checking for the errors. Okay, so in this way, if you are applying this type of technique, then you can choose the RAID level 2. So here you can see the diagram. The RAID level 2, it is actually AABB. It is actually using a mirroring technique, as well as the bit values are repeated here. And again, it uses the ECC, error correction code, and this error correction code details content will be stored in a separate disk. Okay, so this is one format, right? And then the RAID level 3 is bit interleaved parity, right? So here it is a small modification of your RAID level 2. Again, it is used the bit stripping only. Okay, a single parity bit is enough for error correction. So instead of checking the entire bit values of your data, it is just enough to check the single parity bit of your data for error correction. Okay, so it is actually correcting your error, not just detection. Okay, it is not just detecting your error, at the same time it is just going to correct your errors. Okay, so when writing the data, corresponding parity bits must also be computed and written to a parity disk. Okay, that means when you are connecting or when you are calculating the bit values, all the parity related data also must be saved in parity disk. Okay, there is a separate disk will be assigned to store the parity related details. So in that place, all your parity details will be saved separately. Okay, and then to recover data in a damaged disk, compute XOR of bits from other disk. Suppose if you are going to repair the damaged disk, maybe you can perform the XOR operation. Okay, so in the bit operations, maybe you have studied already, XOR, NAND, and then AND, those type of XNAND, those type of operation you will perform. So with the available bit values, if you perform XOR, you will be able to get it back, reverse it. Okay, then faster data transfer than the single disk, but fewer IOs input output per second, since every disk has to participate in every IO. So it is fast data transfer than the single disk, because here the data is repeated and it is stored in multiple places. So the data accessibility will be can be performed parallelly, so that you can increase the performance by parallelism. Okay. And at disk level, that is RAID level 4, you have the block interleaved parity. It is a small modification of the previous one, is bit interleaved parity. The same idea. Okay, there is no changes here. So instead of using bit values, you are going to use the block interleaved parity. Okay, so whatever the concept we just discussed, the same thing you are going to repeat here, right? Like there in the RAID level 3, you have used the bit level concept, and the same thing you are going to use here in the RAID level 4 as a block interleaved parity. Okay, so you are instead of storing the data in the bit, you'll be storing the data in the form of blocks. Okay, so same arrangement, that is A and then B. That means you are going to save the block in multiple disks, and then the parity value will be saved in the block parity details will be saved in the separate type of disk. Okay, so there is no much difference between RAID level 3 and RAID level 4. Only the key difference is there you are using the bit level interleaved parity. In the RAID level 4 you are using block interleaved parity. And RAID level 5, it is one more additional feature you can see here, block interleaved distributed parity. So there you can see here block interleaved parity. So the parity values are distributed across the network. That is the only difference here. Okay, so the basic idea, the concept of whatever we discuss here, that is applicable in the RAID level 5. Only thing is the difference is instead of storing your parity details in only one disk, you are storing the parity data across the multiple disk in the interleaving fashion. Okay, so you can see in this diagram, in this arrangement you have the 0 parity, here 1 parity and 2 parity, and then in the sequence of arrangement of disk, one particular disk will be meant for storing the parity details. Okay, so that parity details will be saved not in the same level, it is just in the interleaving fashion. Okay, so you can see the hierarchy. Even in the diagram also, the parity 0, here parity 1, it is in the diagonal, right? So in the 5 disk arrangement, parity 0, parity 1, parity 2, parity 3 and parity 4. Okay, so this is how you will do in the block interleaved distributed parity. That means you are storing the data in the form of block stripping, and it is distributed across the network. And then for error correction and then other manipulations, you are using the parity values, block level parities. Those block level parities are saved in the the interleaved fashion. Okay, so you're not saving in the same place. Instead, you are saving the parity details across the network in this manner. And the RAID level 6 is the one more thing is you are going to add the Q factor, that is P plus Q redundancy. That means you can see here the error correction code and then XOR parities are given here, and A0, B0, Q0, P0. So here not only the parity value, you are going to save the Q factor also. Okay, that means extra redundant information to guard against multiple disk failure. Okay, so here the redundancy detail as well as your parity details will be saved in multiple places, right? So here you can see in the 5th one, you are saving the parity data in only one disk. Suppose if anything happens with this particular disk, you will not be able to retrieve the data. Okay, but here in the P plus Q, in this arrangement, you are going to save the parity details also in multiple places. Okay, so here the data is also saved in multiple places with the block level stripping, as well as the parity details also saved in the multiple disk. Okay, so that even you will not get any problem with the parity details also. Okay, so this are the. Okay, so far we have discussed about what is RAID and what are the different levels of RAID. So now we'll discuss about how we can choose a particular RAID level, that is choices of RAID level. There are different factors involved in a particular choosing a particular RAID level. One is monetary cost, that is how much money you have to spend to get your RAID arrangement or the RAID infrastructure. And second one, performance. So what type of performance you are looking for? Okay, so the number of operations per second, that is maximum speed, and then the bandwidth during normal operation. So the access speed, that is how much speed you are looking for in the RAID level. Okay, so based on the infrastructure and based on your application, so how much speed the RAID level should be working. So that that is the another factor. And performance during failure. So if any case of failure or any disk failure in the RAID arrangement, how you can, what type of performance you are looking for. Okay, so we have discussed in different RAID level. Some of the RAID level are not using redundancy. Okay, so when you don't have the redundancy, then there is a higher possibility for failure of your data. So in that case, how you can manage, right? So what type of performance you are looking in the during the failure condition. And the next one is performance during a rebuild of failed disk. Suppose if you are going to repair or rebuild, or if you are going to replace the failed disk, and what sort of performance you are looking for. Okay, whether you want to shut down or stop the entire RAID system, or you are allowing the RAID system to be executing, and maybe you can perform your repairing work, or you can do the alternative work. Okay, so what type of performance you are looking for in related to the failed disk. Okay, so we have talked about mean time to failure and then repair. So everything we have discussed. So based on that factors, you can decide which particular RAID will be more appropriate for your application. Okay, so here just we'll discuss one by one. The RAID 0 is used only when data safety is not important. That means it doesn't uses redundancy concept. So you're not you cannot expect your data to be very safe. Okay, so suppose if you are dealing with very critical data, then it is better to not to choose the RAID 0. Okay, so only data safety is not important, right? And then level 2 and level 4 never used, since they are substituted by 3 and 4. So because these features are already available in level 3 and level 5. And level 3 is not used since bit stripping forces a single block reads to access all disk. So we're wasting disk COM movement. So we already said the bit stripping is nowhere used at present. So just for discussion, we are taking this one. So level 3 is not recommended, and level 6 is rarely used, since level 1 and level 5 offer adequate safety for most applications. So we already discussed level 6 is the another higher version of your level 5, where it provides the parity can be, you can store the parity values redundantly. Okay, so maybe this particular thing maybe will cost you more. So you can instead of going for level 6, maybe you can get your level 5 itself. You can choose the level 5 itself. So based on the different factors in choosing the RAID level, the main competition, the main main comparison is between the RAID level 1 and RAID level 5. So here the RAID level 1 provides much better RAID performance than the RAID level 5, because it is using the block stripping, and it is very faster one. The performance is much better than the level 5. But the level 1 had a higher storage cost than the level 5. That is one of the other point you can see here. And then just we are talking about level 1 and level 5. Okay, because the most competition is between level 1 and level 5. So level 5 is preferred for applications with low update rate and large amount of data. So suppose if you're updating the data with very rarely, maybe once in a week or once in a month. Okay, so not very frequently for not updating your data, and then again you are dealing with a large amount of data, then RAID level 5 will be mostly preferred, and level 1 is preferred for all other applications except their level 5. That means if your updation is too frequent, that is you are regularly updating your data, at the same time you are dealing with somewhat lesser amount of data, then you can choose the level 1. Okay, the other points for discussion here is hardware issues. Sometimes the entire RAID system can be controlled, it can be made function as with the help of the software itself. Okay, you can have a special type of software to work in RAID arrangement. So in that condition, we call as a software RAID. That is, RAID implements done entirely in software with no special hardware support. There is no need for special hardware support. Okay, so suppose if you are relying only on hardware, then there is also the possibility, there is option is there. There is hardware RAID implementations with special hardware use. It uses a non-volatile RAM to record writes that are being executed. So instead of only depending on the RAID software, you can have a special type of hardware to maintain your entire RAID arrangement. Okay. Then what are the hardware issues we can discuss here? One is hot swapping. So here, where the RAID arrangement is having more number of disks. Okay, so there is a possibility that any particular disk got damaged, or a particular disk might require a repair or service. Okay, so maybe in that time you need to replace that particular disk, and you have to take it out, and then you have to do some replacement, or and then you have to do some repair work, and then you have to refix it. Okay, so here at that time, suppose if you are switching down or shutting down the entire RAID infrastructure or the RAID arrangement, then the users or the people, those who are connected with your RAID arrangement or your RAID infrastructure, may not get your data. That is, they may not access the data. Okay, so instead of that, what you're doing, so we'll do the hot swapping. Okay, we'll just keep the entire RAID arrangement on, and then we'll do some replacement work on the go. Okay, that is replacement of the disk while system is running without power down, and then supported by some hardware RAID systems. Some of the RAID systems are supporting this particular feature, and it is reducing the time to recovery and improves the availability. So maybe if you're allowing the RAID system to keep on running, then the people, those who are accessing your RAID system, will be able to get their data freely, okay, without any intervention. So then suppose if you're some of the RAID systems are using some spare disk, okay, like a standby disk. If any particular disk got failure, and the spare disk will be utilized online. Okay, so that will be a standby mode. Okay, the spare disk will be standby mode. If any one or more disk got problem, and obviously the standby mode disk will be get operated. Okay, so it reduces the time to recovery, right? So then other point is, many hardware RAID systems ensure that a single point of failure will not stop the functioning of the system by using redundant power supply with battery backup. So suppose if any particular RAID system doesn't have any power supply or any other issue, and there should not be any single point of failure. Okay, so for one particular reason, the entire RAID system should not be stopped. Okay, so maybe you can provide some backup power backups, and then proper battery backup, right? And then what you can do to avoid this type of problem, you can provide some the facility for multiple controllers and multiple interconnections to guard against controller and interconnection failures. So any network related, any controller devices failure, so maybe you can do some the alternative arrangement, and then the appropriate action for this type of failures. Okay, so this is what so far we have covered what is a RAID and different levels of RAID, and then other choices of RAID, how, in what situation, in what circumstances you can choose a particular RAID, and what are the other issues related with the RAID system. Okay, thank you.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel and also press this bell icon.